Pete Davidson is such an unpredictable kind of comic force in the film. Do you give a performer like that a lot of kind of room to riff, or is he kind of bringing a lot of himself to it?
Pete, obviously his background in comedy, he's very instinctive. His improvisational skills are amazing. But what's impressive as well with that is that they're in character. Understanding the family dynamic and the hierarchy, the jokes are coming from that place, where he's like, nobody wants your baby, at the dinner table. It's because of how he feels marginalized. There's weight under that, and there's emotional baggage to it that I think makes the comedy land that much harder in a way, because the audience is invested in their characters.
Yo, what up, everybody? Roaring Kitty here. I'm gonna pick a stock and talk about why I think it's interesting, and that stock is GameStop.
I love this guy.
I understand there's a bit of a family backstory to how Dumb Money came about and how you were inspired to make it.
Yeah, it was during COVID, and very trying time for everyone. At that time, one of our sons was living with us who was 24, Miles, and he started investing on wallstreetbets. And he has a trajectory that's very similar to some of our characters in the film. He'd come running down and keep me abreast of what was going on. He'd be like, hey, Elon Musk just tweeted, game stonked, and it's up 8%, and really the blow by blow of it. But then it got into this very intense 2-week period. He got out, timed it really well. The next day, there was the freeze that Robinhood did on the buy option. It created the stock, and just the outrage and the frustration that was happening online, that real sense that the system was rigged against them. I lived that emotional journey in the house.
I was thinking as I was watching it that if you kind of traveled back in time and showed Dumb Money to someone from 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, they would be mystified by so much of what's on screen. Did you kind of intend for the film to be a kind of cinematic time capsule that you watched and say, yes, that was 2020?
Part of why this happened was this moment that we were living through. COVID was such an extreme situation that we've never experienced before. The loss of loved ones, the loss of jobs, the small businesses shutting down, the real lack of government aid, the isolation. It was so acute, and there was a lot of frustration going on. It all came together, and GameStop happened to be the way for people to express that. It happened to be a stock in this particular moment that was a way for everybody to go after that 1%, or even the 0.01% in this case, and show that frustration and anger and hit them where it hurts, which is in their wallet.
What do you want people who watch the film to kind of come away from it thinking and feeling, or even doing?
This sense of community, this sense of empowerment as a group, you can affect change, I think is hopeful coming out of the film. There's a line at the end of the film where one of the reporters says, Wall Street day traders were considered a fringe movement, and now they have the power to move markets, and people, Wall Street is noticing. So there was a dynamic shift that happened that is interesting, and it's empowering.
Babe, how much did we make today?
$5 million?
How much did we lose today?
$1 billion.
And yesterday?
$4 million?
And yesterday?
$1 billion.
Now, I understand Rebecca and Lauren, this is the first feature script they've had made, and they're former Wall Street Journal reporters
Yes.
as well. Did they come to you with the script ready-made, or did you kind of work on it together?
When this script came in and they sent it to me, it was all happening so quickly. The Ben Mesrick book was very immediate. They were writing immediately after that. When I came aboard, the congressional hearings had only happened a couple of months earlier, so it wasn't in the script. And when you looked at the Roaring Kitty testimony, it really felt like it was a natural arc to the story. So immediately they put that in the third act. They pulled that together very quickly because we only had about 3 months before we were shooting and 6 weeks on the ground prep. There's so much real footage in this film. The memes, the financial news anchors, the actual mass media, the White House, the congressional hearings, it's all real footage. So we had a team of people in post that was pulling all of this footage together. And it was almost a movie within a movie, and it was a real discovery.
Paul gives a very kind of grounded emotional center to this quite chaotic story. What about him made you kind of sure that he was Roaring Kitty?
The homework that he would do, like listening to the cadence, the work for like months leading up to this, getting the mannerisms. He's portraying a real figure. bigger. The actual Keith Gill who did these posts that everybody really like got behind. There's a real like accessibility to him, a real innocence, a real joy about what he's talking about, and there's a real sense of no agenda. I think online they can smell BS very quickly, and he just didn't have it. So we were looking for those qualities. The film for Paul was Swiss Army Man. The joy and the enthusiasm that he has in that film, I immediately thought, oh, these are the attributes we need, because we've got to get the audience to get behind his performance. Like in reality, they got behind Keith Gill.
If he's in, I'm in.
If he's in, I'm in.
GameStop, those shares not stopping.
The stock is only gonna go up. When they hit, I'm gonna buy you a mansion.
Let's drink to that.
My brother is a fucking nerd.
Then you've got this extraordinary kind of all-star ensemble all around him. Did you always plan for the film to be that kind of actor showcase, or was it the case of one actor coming on board and then it just escalates?
It honestly wasn't the plan. I think it's always really interesting to be able to cast against type. Something that was in their script with Rebecca and Lauren was to really have like shades of gray. We didn't want it to be black and white and try to paint people as villains and heroes necessarily. It's like we wanted to show them as fully formed human beings. There's such short pieces we have in this film with our different characters.
It feels like every role in the film has its own little moments. There are no kind of wasted characters there.
That was something I was always striving for, because every character only has 4 or 5 scenes that they have to really engage the audience with. It meant those scenes had to work on a number of levels. There's definitely a through line that I wasn't aware of necessarily, which is that outsider, that underdog. It's an ordinary person put in extraordinary circumstances, and how they're going to handle that.